All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 28th meeting of the Placerville City Council. Will everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody, and everybody welcome this evening, guests and residents. We will go ahead and get started with roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Here.
Councilmember Gottberg? Here. Councilmember Yarbrough?
Here.
Vice Mayor No?
Here.
Mayor Saragosa?
Here. All right, moving right along to ceremonial matters. In item 3.1, which is exciting to introduce our new officers and dispatchers. And so it's item 3.1, introduction and swearing in of new police department employees. And Chief Wren has this for us. Yeah, we're going to take pictures, so we get cut out. Oh,
Slow.
sorry.
Because,
Go ahead, Chief.
Thanks. Do I need to start over? Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joe Wren, your police chief. I'm going to talk slow because we're missing one person, and I think Commander Mayfield's on the phone with him right now. So, is he on the way? Okay, just brief comments. You know, during my time as chief, the community has made it very clear what they expect of their police departments. The police department commitment to excellence, integrity, and a steadfast desire to keep the community safe. The new team members before you today have shown that they possess those attributes and so much more. I'm proud that they chose to work in our community, and I believe that because we focus on hiring people that will enhance our culture of service, these new team members will grow to love this community as much as those of us who have been here for a while. So I want to call them up and say a few words, but on his way. We'll start with Christina.
Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. My name is Christina O'Brien. I was hired as dispatcher and started in February, and I'm from Georgetown, so I don't live very far. I've been there for almost 30 years, and I actually own a nail salon in Georgetown, so this is like nothing I've ever done before. But the team that we have there is incredible, and everybody's been very welcoming and very encouraging for me. So that's all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ava Roser Hudspeth. I'm here with my dad today, right over there. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to work at the Placerville PD because I grew up in this town, and it's just really nice to give back to the community. That's all.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Schmidt. I am from Garden Valley. So my family here is Brian, my son Cash, and my daughter Lola. I am very excited to be working for the police department. It's been a dream to work for the police department and to give back to the community. So I'm very excited for my future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think you guys talked slow enough for your coworker.
Yeah.
I think I can stretch this out. Hello, my name is Marko Radonich. Have a long, distinguished career with law enforcement. Started with DOJ, with Sacramento County, with Santa Clara. Matter of fact, today was my actual last day of being a retired annuitant for Sacramento County Sheriff, so I can spend a little bit more time here. Being retired doesn't mean you're old and put in a corner. It just means that you got a little bit more time to do things what you want. When I first came to this department, I met with Chief Wren, and I was extremely impressed. The very first thing what he told me about the department, and something I highly believe in, is integrity. And once he said integrity and told me that he would die on that hill with me for integrity, I knew this was the right place to be at. I came with my wife, who's I've been married for over 3 decades with, and my son, who's actually taking a role in Sacramento County. He's following Dad's footsteps, hopefully. And my long-term friend, who was a partner of mine in Sacramento County Sheriff's for over 3 decades. I ended up buying a place close by. I think it's a good fit. Your department is, I would say, very professional and up and coming. And so I'm proud to here to serve for you guys. Did I stretch it long enough for you guys?
You did. I think so.
Okay.
Welcome to the community. Thank you.
This is the guy we've been waiting for.
My name is Vlad Bondar. I have my dad, my mom, brother-in-law, and my sister here. What I like most about working here so far, I've been here about 2 months. All the coworkers here have been basically handing out a hand for me to help me, guide me, and push me to basically be able to be my best self. I feel honored to serve this community, and I look forward to being here for a very long time.
All right. Thank you.
Do you want to come up and introduce your family? Come on up.
Everybody's coming.
I'm going to be brief because I'm not sure if I'm paying those people in the back overtime or not. Obviously I'm biased. I think we've got the greatest department in the state, maybe even the nation. We truly do hire for culture, and we train for competency. We hire the right people that understand our mission. They know they don't have to police this community. They go out and serve the community. They address problems when they come up, and they really do interact with the public as if they're neighbors and friends, not strangers on the street. So I'm very fortunate to have a crew like this. They do a good job of making me look good, so I definitely owe them that bit of gratitude. So we'll swear them in now. After we swear them in, there'll be a badge pinning by their loved ones that they've chosen, and then we'll take some photos afterwards.
Sounds good, Chief.
Okay. Up. And we're gonna stand right up here.
Come on up. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor? Would it be permissible if we take just a brief break so we can have individual photos taken in front of the flag?
Absolutely, of course. We need to do that.
Thank you.
We're not even in the meeting yet, technically. We're in the bottom.
Where's Titi? Oh. You didn't come up there. I was in a picture with nobody beside her. You guys have come up with a picture with me. You guys have come up with a picture with me. Take one with me, please. What do you think? What do you think about this outfit? You like it?
All right, we're going to go ahead and restart the meeting. We do not have any closed session today, so we'll move to item 5, which is the adoption of the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Councilmember Gottberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor No?
Aye.
Mayor Saragosa?
Aye. Okay, moving right along to item 6, which are announcements and presentations to the public. In item 6.1, comments by City Council. And I'll start with Councilmember Yarbrough.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Councilman Clarici.
I just want to mention the fantastic fire thingy on a week ago, two Saturdays ago now, at Midtown Mall. You're welcome.
At 9 a.m.?
At 9 a.m. I was there at 7. And just kudos to everybody who put it on. Mark, Sue was there helping out. We taped things to walls. I was useful because I'm a little taller and I could hit the high spots. And but it was great. It was greatly done. Lots of representation. Pretty good participation. I left around 10:30 or so, and there were people there. So it was a light shone well on Placerville and our fire awareness, and it was all good.
Not a firelight, though.
No, a bright spotlight. It was a nice day. Sunday.
It
It
was.
was a very nice day.
Councilmember Gottberg.
Yes, also attended the wildfire safety event and thought it was a great event and great to interact with a number of the members of community and learn a lot of things. And then I will be attending the Women's Fund ballot showcase on Thursday. So if anybody wants to come down to that, or that's the event that's coming up in our community this week.
Thank you, Nicole. For myself, same thing. I also attended the fire safe thingy, and it was great. It was I think the best part was with El Dorado Hills Fire Department. It had the display where they did the simulations of the fires, and I can tell you the two that I watched. And, my house burned down both times on the simulations, and so I always thought that living off of a major highway with fire hydrants all around me that I would probably be, would be okay, but apparently, I'm moving to the other side of town too with these guys. Yeah, exactly. No, but it was very educational. I thought everyone did a great job. I really want to thank David Zielinski, Mark Acuna, the rest of the Placerville Fire Safe Council, Sue. A lot of work went into this. Rotary for making food, so a lot of effort went into it. I also want to thank our new state senator for coming out, and I know Joe Patterson, our assemblyman, was also going to make it, but he had an emergency with his kids that morning. One got sick, so he wasn't able to make it out, but I know I just got an email from his staff today, and he wants to do a half-day tour here in Placerville, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about what we want to do that day and where we want to take them and, who to meet with. So it was great to hear from the assemblyman on that front as well. And then I was going to ask, and I didn't talk to you about this, but if we could I don't know if you could just give the community a little bit of any update, if there is any, on the storms. And so I know we eventually got put into the declaration of emergency, but just to know, from the sinkholes and other things, are we going to be able to, one, recoup anything? And I don't know if you knew any information about if individuals would be able to put any type of claims forward as well.
So just briefly, I will state that we have filed all the necessary paperwork and reports. Mr. Warren takes care of that, and I appreciate what he does there. And in order to get reimbursed for our costs, and we think we will, as far as we know, but we haven't received anything, I don't think, formal from them. Right, Dave? I have looked at that, and I have not found anything that has talked about private properties and their ability to file. Have you seen anything like that, Dave?
I have not.
Okay.
As far as I know, the answer is no to that, and I not that I agree with it, but I just
No,
that's
understand.
all I've seen.
I've gotten a couple of emails and a couple of folks that had asked me about that, so just wanted to kind of put that out there. I hadn't seen anything myself, but didn't know if I had missed something from DOI or from some other location. So
Right.
Appreciate the update on that. And it looks like we're having more weather now, so hopefully no problems as we go forward. Okay, that's it on my end as well. Yes.
Jackie?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jackie.
It's okay. I didn't have anything. Otherwise, I would have interrupted you.
Yeah, I skipped because I was going to go back to you after, but yeah.
Close enough to kick you. It's okay.
That's true. And as you should. All right. Moving to item 7, which is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. Any questions or an item anyone wants to remove? No. All right. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open up the consent calendar for any public comment. All right. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment, bring it back to the council.
I'll move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Councilmember Gottberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor No?
Aye.
Mayor Saragosa?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to item 8, public comments on non-agendized items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda, and that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor reserves the right to limit the speaker's time to 3 minutes, and you are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. And we'll go ahead to item 8.1, which is oral communications. Oh. All right, we have a taker. Come on up, Sue.
Good snowy evening, Mayor and Council. I want to thank the city for their help with the fire, getting ready for wildfire season on Saturday the 18th. It was wonderful. I think it was Terry Zeller who brought and his crew brought tables and chairs so that we could set up for people to have their displays, and did a great job. They had them there ready for us to go on Friday, and they came and got them at the end of the event on Saturday, and it went over very well. And I was very pleased to see council members come, and I was very grateful for Councilmember Clarici for being tall and putting up posters and maps before the event started. So I'm very grateful, and grateful to all of you who helped. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. All right, I'll go ahead and close.
Could I just comment?
Yes, of course.
I don't want to miss. I want to comment also. Nick had Louis Zacharias, I think, there most of the day, kind of supervising and moving things, and so I really want to recognize him. Was it just Louis or somebody else there with him earlier? I know. David, right? Okay. So anyway, I just want to recognize those two. But Nick or Louis stayed there throughout the event, I believe, and helped out and helped with whatever he could. So I wanted to mention that. So thanks.
Thank you for catching that. Appreciate it. Okay. Item 8.2. Do we have any written communication?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Regina. Okay. Moving right along. No items pulled from consent, no ordinance or public hearings this evening. So we'll move to our discussion and action items in item 12.1. Which is to adopt a resolution approving a $733,740 budget appropriation from the Highway Safety Improvement Program for the Broadway Sidewalks Project, approving an $800,000 budget appropriation in urban surface transportation block grants, funds for the same project. 3, approve a consulting service agreements with Dewberry engineers in the amount of $331,655.80. 4, approve amendment number 8 to the consulting services agreement with R.E.Y. engineers. 5, authorize the issuance of a notice to proceed for number 10 to R.E.I. engineers for construction engineering phase in the amount of $45,927 And 6, authorize the engineering department to release construction contract documents for public bidding. And Ms. Neves has this report for us this evening. Thanks, Rebecca.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You did a great job of reading the plethora of action items this evening, but this has been a much anticipated item to bring to Council as it proceeds to put the Broadway Sidewalks project into the construction phase, including all the ancillary actions that were also listed. You may recall this project originated as a highway safety improvement program sidewalk gap closure project to create a safe and continuous path of travel for pedestrians in the commercial corridor of Broadway. The limits of the project span just east of the Mosquito Road, Main Street, Broadway intersection to the intersection of Schnell School Road and Broadway, and include construction of curb, gutter, sidewalk, pavement section repairs, and select storm drain and water distribution system improvements. On December 11th, Council found that the project was exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301 and 15303 of the CEQA guidelines, and a notice of exemption has been filed. Since that time, final design and right-of-way acquisition has been completed. Staff submitted a request for authorization for construction funds in November of 2022 with a shortfall in funding despite significant efforts from staff to secure additional funding and reduce project costs. The shortfall was estimated at $688,258.36. However, on February 6, 2022, staff was notified by the HSIP program manager that an additional $750,000 had been set aside for the project, utilizing the Vulnerable Road Users VRU apportionment, which is a federal set-aside within the program that is required to be encumbered by the end of June. This project, Broadway Sidewalks, was one of just a few in the state that were in a great position to receive and deliver within that type timeline. To move the process forward and keep the project within that timeline, the original funding amount was authorized and is before you as an appropriation approval in the amount of $733,740. There will be an additional appropriation in the amount close to the shortfall following bid opening of the project, and it will return to City Council at that time. The second appropriation is for the use of Urban Surface Transportation Block Grant Program funds in the amount of $800,000 that were recommended and approved by the El Dorado County Transportation Commission with the support of the El Dorado County Department of Transportation. Approval of these appropriations moves the project into construction, and with that, formal public bidding. The anticipated workload of delivering this project exceeds city resources, and approval of the proposed consultant services agreement with Dewberry Engineers is recommended under this item. To support bidding, the proposed amendment to the design consultant agreement is also included, and it serves to provide construction engineering design services, which entails development and publication of any addendums that ensue from the bidding process, as well as providing responses to questions from potential bidders and the awarded contractor. Notice to proceed number 10 to R.E.Y. Engineers contract is for $46,927, and it includes that amount includes the $26,527 in the amendment to support scope of work added since the original agreement was approved with R.E.Y. in 2018. Mainly, those additional scope of work items are related to underground utility and pavement improvements. Last, but in no means least, action on this item includes authorizing the engineering department to release the Broadway Sidewalks project for formal bidding. Should this be approved, the project will be released for bidding this Friday, March 31st, and the bid opening is scheduled for Thursday, April 27th. Staff anticipates returning to council for award of the construction contract at the May 23rd meeting, where the additional VRU appropriation funding will also be presented for approval. That concludes my verbal report. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Rebecca. Any questions on this project? All right. All right. We'll go ahead and open up public comment.
Sue Rodman, member of the Measure H&L Committee, and have a vested interest and just an interest in what goes on in our city. And I am amazed and very positively amazed at how much work has gone into this Broadway Sidewalks project. It's been a huge project. It's gone on for years and years, and it's made a big difference already. And when it's completed, this end of town will be much better than it was when they started, and much better than it is now. And I think our engineering department, to handle all of these various sources of funding and put this all together, is almost miraculous. And so I think our engineering department deserves a big thank you and round of applause.
Thank you, Sue, and we agree. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Bring it back for further discussion or motion.
Yeah, no, I'll just echo what Sue said. I can't remember how many years ago, Patty Borelli, Jerry Barton, we did a walk of Broadway. It was probably another study, and these projects, they take so long, so really excited to see this finally come to fruition.
Yeah, likewise. I think the first time I heard it was probably maybe my first or second council meeting back in 2018. I think on some of the preliminaries. So it's great to see this finally moving forward and really excited. I do have, I guess, one question. So as all these items move together, and I know we have another meeting, we'll have another additional item, but when do you foresee sort of construction actually starting and everything?
We anticipate construction for the Broadway sidewalks project to begin around June.
June.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
then the second item that I'll be presenting on is Broadway maintenance, and those are kind of tied together sequentially.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I think maybe if after you've gotten the bids and you kind of know what's going to happen next, and you actually have a construction date, if we could get just a little, if you could send us just at least me a one-pager, so that kind of like when the public asks, if they do, we will have some information. I'm sure we'll have things going out, and there'll be things on all our social media and all that stuff. But if I could have some, I'm assuming it would be helpful for others as well to have that. And then say, well, what are they doing? Well, we say, well, they're making the sidewalk, and it's going to be here, and you're going to see that. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
We will pull together a one-page fact sheet for you. And then also I want to point out that we will do, as we have done on other prior projects, we will be doing community outreach and public outreach too, and updates.
Awesome. Great idea. All right. Any other comments or?
I think this is a great project. It's great to see it moving forward. I think it's super important that we have sidewalks and it's safe for people to get around and walk through all of our commercial corridors. And with that, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving this in accordance with the items in the staff report 1 through 6.
I'll second that motion.
All right. We have a first and a second. Seeing no further comments, roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Councilmember Gottberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor No?
Aye.
Mayor Saragosa?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Moving right along to item 12.2, which is, again, to adopt a resolution. 1, to approve a contract amendment. Number 2, with R.E.Y. Engineers in the amount not to exceed $95,732 for the Broadway maintenance project from Mosquito to Chanel. 2, approve a consulting service agreement with Dewberry Engineers not to exceed $254,107.30 for construction management and inspection services for said project, and authorize the city manager to execute the same. And with that, I will hand it back over to Rebecca.
Thank you. As I mentioned, this item before you is not too dissimilar from the previous item, as the projects are closely coordinated and follow each other in the same sequential approach into construction and delivery. So when staff initiated the development of the Broadway Sidewalks project, it was also determined that a more in-depth assessment of the corridor's locally owned utilities, pavement, and general layout needed to be holistically considered. As such, the Broadway maintenance project was developed as a capital improvement project and adopted as part of the 2019-2020 fiscal year adopted budget. The benefit of delivering this project separately from the Broadway Sidewalks project is that the proposed improvements are all locally owned, and it's in the best interest of the city to keep those items from being federalized, which triggers additional staff time and effort for delivery of the project. Staff determined the project to be exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301C and 15303 of the CEQA guidelines, and a notice of exemption has been filed with the County Recorder's Office. A design contract was awarded to R.E.Y. engineers in November of 2020, and design began. Improvements of this project include utility relocations, replacement of water distribution systems, storm drain collection facilities, and sewer collection facilities, as well as paving the corridor. Furthermore, additional work has been added to the project following recent storms where it was determined that sections of the city's storm drain system are in need of repair or replacement. To keep the project on schedule for delivery, R.E.Y. engineers, as the designer, advanced the assessment and the design of the recently identified storm drain systems, and that work is represented in the proposed Amendment 2 before you this evening. Given that this is a locally funded project, the city initially planned to perform the project's construction management services in-house with supplemental support covered under a task order from the as-needed inspection services contract with Dewberry engineers. As the project's scope of work expanded in the last 2 years, the city realized that the scope of work was more than available resources to the engineering department and would be able to take on while carrying out other workload priority items. Dewberry has already been selected through the request for proposals process to provide construction management services for the Broadway Sidewalks project, and with the direct similarities of the two projects, it was thus determined that the consultant also met the qualifications for this project. Given the overlap in the project limits, scope of work, as well as timing overlap of construction, staff determined it was in the best interest of the public to have the construction management services provided by the same consultant for both projects to ensure continuity, avoid critical scheduling issues and claims due to overlap in the time and space. Dewberry prepared a scope and fee for the Broadway maintenance project, and we met with them in December to discuss the two projects and negotiated the fee with consideration of the project overlap, yielding a savings to the city. Staff is recommending approval of the consultant services agreement with Dewberry in the amount of $254,107.30 for the Broadway maintenance project. This fee is representative of approximately 9.5% of the estimated cost of construction, which is well below the typical 15 to 20% we see on construction management services contracts. This project is now ready for formal public bidding. The project will be released for bidding in mid-May, with the bid opening scheduled for June 13th and a contract award in July with additional budget appropriations for funding. That concludes my verbal report. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Any questions? Yes.
Mayor, could I add something to this?
Yes.
Actually, I should have mentioned on the last project. For both of these projects, we will be adding conduit services for broadband. The Broadway sidewalk project is well funded to meet that requirement. However, the Broadway maintenance project, we're struggling a little bit, and we will be coming back to you and trying to find funding sources for that. We just want to make sure we get the conduit in the ground as part of this project so that we can, as you recall, this was the project, or a portion of it, that we were hoping to get the Green Means Go money, which we did not get. And so we're scrambling a little bit, but we feel it's extremely important to get that conduit in the ground while we have the road opened up. So we will be, it will be part of the bids, and as we come back to you to award those, we will identify funding sources for that. So.
Thank you, Cleve. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to ask that question about how we can, whether there's capacity or we leave something that's to make it easier to add later, but this makes sense. So thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Just excited for this to move forward. Someone actually stopped me in the grocery store the other day and said, "Are you guys ever going to do anything about Broadway?" I'm like, "We are."
We like it. I did have one question on because the fee was a lot lower than normally. Just because there's sort of all these things happening together, or is that why it was so much lower?
Yeah, I mean, we're already going to have a heartbeat out there through the Broadway Sidewalks project, and there was, no point in charging the exact same work. He's already going to be out there. He can inspect both jobs very easily. There was a lot of, efficiencies in staff time for the construction management services for inspections and reporting and things like that. The heavier workload is with the federally funded project with all the forms and documentation that's required, hence why it's such a higher percentage, but locally funded projects doesn't have that. However, we obviously want to get the same A-plus service on our locally funded projects as we do on federally funded projects. And this was an opportunity to get more bang for our buck.
Great. So no, we won't be expecting any scope change or anything on these.
No, I have yet to ever need to process an amendment with a Dewberry contract, which is pretty rare for consultant contracts, which is nice, actually.
No, that's amazing. So thank you. I wanted to kind of
Yeah,
highlight
not
that.
for construction management, anyway.
Yep.
So.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up this item for public comment.
You get your steps in.
Good evening, City Council, and once again, Sue Rodman. And I'm just amazed at how well our engineering department has done to marry these two projects that are in the same location and should be all put together, and to do it so that it saves the city some money and saves the city having these things still remain with the city. I think it's absolutely great. So, bravo.
Thank you, Sue. All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring this back to the council.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Seeing any comments? Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Councilmember Gottberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor No?
Aye.
Mayor Saragosa?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, item 12.3. This is to adopt a resolution approving a budget appropriation in the amount of $270,303 from the CMAQ funds for the Placerville Drive Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Project, and 2, authorize staff to issue notices to proceed to number 5 in the amount of $200,000 to Dewberry Engineers. And for the hat trick tonight, Ms. Neves.
Thank you. This is going to be quite a bit brief, just because we've been focusing on this project quite a bit lately. But just as a reminder, with the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration by the City Council in January of this year for the project pursuant to the provisions within CEQA, this project is now proceeding into design phase, and purpose of this item is to approve the budget appropriation and authorize a notice to proceed to enter into the right-of-way phase of the project. Staff is recommending a budget appropriation in the amount of $270,303 from the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement Program for the right-of-way phase, and authorizing and issuing notice to proceed number 5 for the original Dewberry Engineers contract in the amount of $200,000 to proceed with right-of-way coordination and services. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open up public comment.
Sue Rodman again. This is another badly needed project at the other end of Placerville. And I'm just, this is great that it's moving right ahead forward. That's probably the worst bridge in all of Placerville left.
Thank you, Sue. Welcome, Michael.
Good chilly evening. Yeah, power's out for like over 1,100 people, so I decided to lost my feed and decided to come on down and see what's happening.
Welcome.
I'm very happy about the conduit going in the ground for every project, and probably, I don't know, you can figure out what size, but just double it, just be safe. I have a question on the Placerville Drive Bridge, the looks, the aesthetics. Can we mimic an old, I don't know if those plans have already been set, if they're already been designed, I don't know, but my request when this was coming forward was to kind of mimic that era, and they have to have crash rated barriers, but if there was some way to dress it up, I don't know, put the same lamp posts we have all through town on all four corners, just something to kind of give it a little flair. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. And thank you for letting us know about the outages as well. That's okay. Any other? Seeing no other, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Bring it back to council. Rebecca, I don't know if you wanted to make any comments on aesthetics on the?
Well, this item is actually for the Bike and Ped project, so it's technically a different project, but I do want to highlight that we have been considering some aesthetic treatments for the bridge.
Thank you. Sure. Appreciate that. Okay.
I would like to make a comment that it's nice to see, kind of Sue has kind of alluded to it, love being given to the other parts of Placerville. We tend to, because of its historic and unique nature, focus on our downtown, which is wonderful. But Broadway and Placerville Drive, very important parts of the community, and they're going to get some love, and I think it's a good thing. So anyway. Unless somebody else wants to make this motion, want to arm wrestle. No, okay. I'll move the staff recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Thank you both. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Councilmember Gottberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Aye.
Vice Mayor No?
Aye.
Mayor Saragosa?
Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. And it really is exciting to see, all the investment going in. And you're talking about, close to $20 million between, in both sides of town. Really transformational projects for both of those, for both Placerville Drive and for Broadway. So it's very exciting. Okay. Moving right along to item 13, which are council reports from other agencies. And our first one is transit.
We haven't met since last meeting.
Transportation.
We have not met since the last meeting.
LAFCO.
Yes, so there's a couple of items for folks here. One is we looked at our 2023-2024 budget, and it has about an 8% increase in it from last year, mainly inflationary rationale behind that. And then the other is that the draft MSR for Placerville is scheduled to be on the May LAFCO agenda. So want all of my fellow council members to be aware that that is currently the planned schedule. There will be no April LAFCO meeting as well. So our next meeting will be in May.
I'm actually going to be here. It's too bad. I do. You have more?
No, I think that's fine.
Pierre, Mr. Rivas, staff. Is the May, as far as you know, is the May thing for LAFCO like etched in granite? Not that I want to delay it, but I'm just curious because a report back to us on what we're, all the stuff we've talked about and the stuff that staff has been working on. I think coming back in April, obviously April back to us and having everyone weigh in on it would be a good thing. That could take some time. Anyway, so what do you know about that May deadline? Is that just something, is it statutory? What?
I don't believe it's statutory, so I believe it's a timeline that was established by the staff and the consultant at LAFCO.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Let me just add to that. I know that we have some information that we are working on getting to them. They didn't give us much time when they first asked for it, so we asked for an extension, and currently I'm going to ask for one more extension from them because we still haven't quite completed it. It's pretty extensive, the information they asked for. In addition, as you know, one of the questions they ask in this is about, expanding our sphere and annexations, et cetera. Staff has our opinions on that, but I want to look at a way to bring that back to the council to get your kind of blessing on it, if you will, so that we can provide them when we provide that information to them. We will probably within the next week or two be sending that information over to them. That doesn't mean that we can't send them additional information based on what we bring to City Council. So we'll put something together. Probably try to do it at your next meeting so we can show you what we submitted. So.
Yeah, well, then that's great because I mean, to your point, John, I think this is a big item for the city. So, whether it's for us, but for the community as well, just to have some more information on the front end before we go into that formal process. So, because May's quick. I mean, that's like right around the corner.
Right.
So,
It's very soon.
I wouldn't mind seeing it delayed. I mean, I just think that's really fast. But I also, I don't know what the process looks like. So if you can get something back.
Yeah, if we're working on a timeline based on when we got them the information, they're probably at least 3 weeks behind, I'm guessing.
Okay.
So.
Well, and the discussions I've had with staff so far, there's really nothing new under the sun. I don't recall talking about anything like, and now we're going to grab parts of Cameron Park or, something like that, which would be extraordinary. But even then, when the ideas of, when you start talking about spheres of influence and potential annexations, everybody's spidey senses start to tingle, and then folks around the city start to go, what are they doing? There's a process, and some of it ought to be focused at the communities, especially where we finally say, yeah, we think we'd like to bring this area into the city. It's going to take some work. Now, I know this is just a planning document, and it sort of identifies things. It's important, and the hard work happens after this gets done. But, this has the potential to open up the discussion, and then it could go, God knows, anywhere after that. So, anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. And getting something here then opens it up to the public. Then you can daylight it in front of the public, and we start that process. So.
Okay. SACOG, we did have, actually kind of interesting, we had a presentation come in, and Mr. Drobish will like this one, on tolling. And the reason why we had the tolling was because in Yolo County, the first toll in the Sacramento greater region, in the SACOG region, is going to be in the causeway going across there. So that will be the first one coming into our area. So it was really talking about sort of best practices and how they've done it in other parts. In this case, Virginia, kind of in the Beltway area. And so, I asked some questions about some of the stuff that has, came to us from EDCTC and others when we talked about Highway 50 right here. It's a really nothing, they talked a little bit about how they've done, cost shifts or cost differentials so that basically residents have almost little to no cost associated with them. But they did say there was still a cost, so, that made me very wary. But it was timely from that perspective because we had just had this, conversation for our community, and it came up as a regional item. And I think you'll see tolling as a mechanism to pay for infrastructure going forward in other areas in our region. So not necessarily saying here, but certainly on some of the major thoroughfares, we'll probably see more to try to combat congestion as we go forward, and with all the other mandates from the state.
Okay, in 500 words or less, what are they proposing for the causeway?
So the causeway is going to, and this is sort of a done deal already.
Right.
They're going to have tolling along, because they're not expanding, they're not adding a new lane. It's really going to be on what would I guess been an emergency lane, to add an additional lane that will just be a toll lane going forward. And it will be dynamic pricing, so, it could be $2, it could be $7, depending on, whatever it's going to continue to make that area traffic flow. So that is coming. Trying to remember the date. It's still a couple of years out, but that is a done deal in terms of a tolling area in the SACOG region.
I mean, there's examples of it down in the Bay Area. If you go, I forget the highways exactly, but they've already got it. If you're going down through Black Hawk and that part of the world, going into San Jose, that's got toll roads on it already. I was just up in Seattle, and they've got them in a lot of different places. They're going to, boy, oh boy, taking the emergency lane off of that and making that into a lane, and then there's no more emergency lanes for people to get into.
Yeah, I'm not sure, where if any, if you need to pull over for, whatever, tire or what have you, but they are not adding a new lane. This is going to be within the existing infrastructure, just because of the cost it would be to build a new lane across the entire causeway. So that didn't become an option for them.
Interesting.
All right. So that's it for me on SACOG. Pioneer.
We don't meet again until the 13th, but I have been working on information, as I previously spoke in our other meeting, the SB 1383 bill that they've got going for the biomass electricity production along with the composting. So I actually met with Pierre, and he is working on some of that stuff also for the city. So we're kind of putting our heads together, exchanging information, and reaching out to Pioneer and other sources to get everything all together on the same page before we do an actual presentation to the council. So once we get that all put together, we'll come back here and let you guys know what we've found.
How much time do we have as a jurisdiction for this
decision?
Yeah.
So that's one of the questions, because Pioneer, they kind of wanted a decision basically by this next meeting, but at the same time they also said take a little bit of time here because we know some of you guys are still trying to get some stuff figured out. So it's kind of a coin toss. I mean, it depends on who you talk to. It's either right now or give it another couple of meetings. So we're doing everything we can as quickly as we can so we can get a good answer and some good information to bring back so we can make a good decision for the city.
Understood. Thank you. Any other? Okay. Let's see. Placerville Fire Safe Council.
We haven't met.
All right. No 2x2. Opportunity Knox, Continuum of Care.
Haven't met. We meet next week.
All right. Thank you. And I'll go ahead and open up item 13 for any public comment. All right. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close item 13 and move to item 14, which is requests for future agenda items. Have any requests this evening for anything? All right. Staff? Nope. Okay. All right. So we'll go to item 15, city manager and staff reports, and item 15.1, which is to acknowledge and file the HDL sales tax and economic report for the quarter ended September 30th of 2022. And Mr. Warren has this for us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So this report includes your Bradley Burns sales tax, which is your general fund sales tax. It actually experienced a slight decrease, $5,826 year over year, 0.3% on the cash basis, which includes prior period adjustments or back taxes. When you take those back taxes out, it actually ended up being a $3,618 increase, or 0.2%, which is primarily due to fuel sales and restaurant sales. The budget, we anticipated a kind of a decline, if you will, a slowing. We actually assumed in our budget, thanks to HDL's help, $19,914, or 1.4%. So we actually ended up with $23,532 more, 1.6% more than we budgeted. So although it was a year-over-year decrease, we experienced a budget increase or surplus for that quarter compared to the state of 8.0%. That's primarily due to the coastal cities still recovering from the pandemic, where we recovered earlier, and we're kind of getting back to square one and a little bit of a slowing. So, and we appreciate all of our businesses, especially our top 25. This quarter, we had our the Big Five sporting goods added back on. They've been on there before. Marathon Fuel and Sierra Nevada Tire and Wheel. And then Grocery Outlet, Hangtown Fuel Stop, and Placerville 76 dropped off this time. They're still up there, but they're not in the 25. So, and then Measure H, J, and L, similar story. Measure J, for example, on the cash basis experienced a $22,409 or 5.7% decrease. On the cash basis, when you take out the prior period adjustments or back taxes, it actually ended up being about an $817 decrease, or 0.2%. We assumed a $24,000 decrease, or 7.8%. So we actually, on a budget basis, actually came in at $23,837 higher than budget. So overall good news, but sales tax is flattening out a bit. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. Thank you, Dave. The only thing I'll mention is, when you look at the California forecast from HDL, I mean, it's fairly pessimistic. They do sort of allude to the R word in there, and if you look at all the trends for just about everything, you're seeing a decrease in that percentage going forward. And then I think the one that really stood out to me, because of just all the push in Sacramento for new housing. They're talking about close to 20,000 less permits for new building permits. So a continued struggle as we go forward. And I think it just underlines the conservative approach our city has taken to our finances as we move forward, because we're not expending more than we should be. Where unfortunately some other cities have maybe gone a little wild with some of the ARPA funds and as well as other things going forward. So I just wanted to highlight that, because whether or not people agree we're in a recession or not, the numbers certainly indicate a slowing down, a continued slowdown, as well as that push and pull between inflation and what the feds are doing. So just wanted to highlight that. Any other questions or comments? I'll go ahead and open up 15.1 for any public comment. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Upcoming items, I'll let people peruse that at their own leisure. So at 6:05, I will end tonight's meeting of the Placerville City Council. So thank you, everybody, and good evening, Placerville. Enjoy the snow.
That was weird.